My suit from court.
Oh, now you're the
All
first
right.
thing on the video, Jason. By the way, here's your warning. If you don't want your voice to be recorded, please don't speak. I am now recording and streaming this on the internets, and your privacy is my biggest concern. So if you have any objections to being recorded or being transmitted live over the internet, please don't speak. You can use the text channels, and I'll read your words out loud. Here is the link to the stream. So you can join me, look in the Freeholder forum for the link, and you'll be able to see what I see, and we can talk over this together. So let me just...
Don't forget to mute unless you want to hear double of everything for added effect.
Right, and yes, the video will be lagging behind the my voice, so keep that in mind. But here we have our glorious and lovely map N. Oh, first let me say thank you very much for everybody joining me today. I really appreciate you coming in the middle of the week, late at night. I know I do not have the best time schedule for these sorts of meetings, but I figured we needed to get this decision done with soon. So I really appreciate you all coming here, and also for you know, hanging out with us this far as we sort out the drama. The purpose of this meeting is not to discuss the drama that we experienced that got us to where we are now. If you still have questions about what happened and why we're making these choices and stuff like that, feel free to PM me. We can talk about it later. I'll stay after this meeting and we can chat if you have questions. That's cool. But I don't want it to bog down the meeting. And also, I have a feeling that that might lead to some negativity, and so I don't want to do that. Niley, thank you for coming. As I told everybody already, we are recording this meeting, so please be aware that you're being recorded. So yeah, what I want to do is I want to go through all of our options for domain selection and talk them over, and then get your feedback, because it's important that I place the domain somewhere that meets the needs of the people of Zylphania. And so I want you to be perfectly candid with me about what your needs are and why you need those things, so that I can make an informed decision and we can all be reasonably happy with the choice. Oh, thank you, Jason.
No problem.
So let's get right into it, and talk about. I'm going to go with Boardwall first, because I've recently got an offer from Boardwall. They rearranged some things, or from the earlier map that we saw. So let's just zoom in and let me show you what they are offering us, and that is. This right here. So when the video catches up with it, you'll see the two duchies I'm circling are the southernmost duchies in the Dross Swamp. They are not connected to the sea directly, though there might be water routes through Kairos. But yeah, there's no direct route to the sea, so it's a totally landlocked swamp. It's entirely Dross. That's the only tribal population in the area. Well, with small smatterings of Teresk and Naren and possibly Genoa, although I don't really think that Genoa would want to live in Dross swamps. They don't get along. So, but their biome is nearby, so it's possible. This gives us a good chunk of land in Boardwall. There are not too many double duchies or triple duchies or quadruple duchies in Boardwall. Most of the dukes are single dukes. So if we did place here, we would be one of the larger power players. This doesn't really work for our trade plans too well. The Dross don't travel well, because once they get out of the canopy of the swamp and into the bright sunlight of anywhere else, they burn up in the sun. So there are some environmental constraints that make it difficult to be traders, but it would be a very defensible biome. The swamps are not someplace that people can just waltz into. The Dross also have the wet lung flaw, I believe, so they can't travel through the deserts or drier climates. All in all, favor this pick. It is an option if we like Boardwall. We have some friends in Boardwall, and
Who?
Von Rugen, formerly Count of Zylphania, is now a duke in Boardwall. And also Nibirius, formerly a Count of Zylphania, is one of Von Rugen's counts. Excuse me.
Who would we be next to as well?
We'd be next to Corellum and an empty duchy. And I'm not exactly. I gotta look. Hold on, just a second here. We would be next to Corellum. They would be in the duchy here, to the east of us, and then north of us is Singraven, and Sidrelia is here. So those are all single duchies. I don't know a whole lot about Corellum or Singraven. Sidrella had some drama in their day where their original duke was not able to complete their pledge for some reason or decided to quit the game. I don't remember exactly what happened, but a new duke rose to take their place, so that worked out, I guess, in the end. The biggest problem I have with Boardwall is I don't think the king is a very good planner. All the plans I've seen come out of Boardwall look like they're just doomed to fail and they're way overwrought. But maybe that works for them. I could be surprised, and perhaps they'll pull something out of their hats and make it work. Yeah, I'm skeptical, but at the same time, it's an option. It's one of our options. So, does anybody have any strong feelings about that option? Any major concerns that I haven't listed?
I just want to verify one more thing. Will we be next to Kairos?
Yes, we would be on the Kairos border.
Kairos?
Huh?
Nothing.
I don't know what Kairos's domain selection plans are. I know there's plenty of room in Kairos, but I don't know where that space is. I wasn't able to get a hold of anybody who could tell me anything.
To my knowledge, they're mainly concentrating in the Genoa area, and there's like two of them that are working to like pretty much take the kingdom from the actual kings, and the king has been inactive for over a year now.
Yes.
But it looked as to what the reports are, it looks like in the next, by the time domain selection happens, they're pretty much going to announce that they're going to try forming their own either their own country or taking over the country, focused in the Genoa area.
Okay. So that would leave the tropical wetlands for us to choose from.
They have 8 NPC dukes.
Yes. They are the, as far as we know, I mean, I don't know anything about Fortuna, so I don't know who's planning on going to Fortuna, but as far as we know, Kairos is the most empty kingdom as far as player dukes is concerned. But I still want to focus on Boardwall before we move on to Kairos. So we would be on the Kairosi border, probably at least with 2 player dukes in those southern duchies. But yeah, any other concerns or questions about placing in Boardwall?
Not particularly fond of it, but could live with it.
You pretty much already know my concerns.
Right, yeah, obviously there's no coastline there.
As long as we never to draw a screen, I'd be okay with it. This would be our swamp.
Okay. So yeah, it's probably at the bottom of my list of options. Once again, I think coastline is really important to me. I want to be able to project myself outward a little better. The Dross do not travel well, so that really kind of restricts our options, and I'm all for maximizing our options. So let's move on to. Oh dang! Look at me, I'm erasing the map. That's not what I meant to do. There we go.
See, Bob's playing God right now. He's just remaking the map.
I know, right? So let's look at. Let's talk about the tropical wetlands in Kairos. We would, probably have free pick of all of those options in Kairos on the tropical wetlands. I like the Teresk. They're a mercantile group. There is a nice sort of mini gulf just north of the Tereshi wetlands there that borders on the woodland savanna and the Narran grasslands. The coastline is just all kinds of places that we could tuck little nooks and crannies and protected harbors. So there's lots of coastline there to work with. So if I had to pick, I would probably go with, well, let me see, either these two here or...
Where?
Oh, you'll see them come up on the video in a second. There's lag. Or these two here.
It's quite a ways behind you, so yeah.
So I'm talking about the... well, I'll give it some time to catch up. I can't see how far back.
It caught up.
Okay, great. So the red grouping is nice because it gives us more contact with board wall on the land, and gives us easy access to whatever resources we can get out of the Draw Swamp and out of the woodland savanna. And still gives us a ton of coastline. It's also the largest grouping of duchies in that biome. So we would have a ton of land. Lots of fresh water, lots of wood, lots of other resources. And like I said, the Teresk are great mercantile, great diplomats. I like them as a tribe. I'm not too keen on the snaggletooth look, but I can live with it.
Are they good shipbuilders?
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, they spend almost their entire lives on or in the water. They're very aquatically oriented. So I would expect that they start with some decent ship technology right off the bat.
Okay.
They are the only kindred religion tribe on the continent. So that's also a unique sort of flavor. If you like the kindred religion, that's cool. And it's Caspian's favorite religion, so it has a good chance of being the quote-unquote real religion. Yeah, and the major drawback that I have is overland travel in that region is going to be difficult. I don't know how connected all these waterways are, but we would be moving through the jungle, more or less. Tropical wetlands are not very easy to travel through if you're not using the waterways. So that is a concern. One of my criteria for domain selection was minimal internal blocking terrain because I don't want us to have a difficult time moving resources around to our various counties. So that's a concern. Also, we're really far south. So our ability to project ourselves by sea out to the rest of the continent is diminished. We would... eventually, it would get more costly to go further and further north. So that's...
Don't forget placing in a kingdom that isn't steady.
Right, and then of course the fact that Kairos is bound to collapse, and it will almost certainly have a civil war inside exposition. I would expect that last month where full PvP is unlocked. I'm willing to bet they'll make their move then. So that's...
Hey, just real quick, could you refresh me on what the heck the kindred, or what was it, the religion that Caspian?
Yeah, the kindred is the oldest religion in Illyria. It deals with figures, probably like real figures from the First Age. So Angelica and Luna and Ao and Sanguinus and all that. They're like the Greek-esque religion, the Greco-Roman religion.
Okay, cool.
Locomotive?
Oh, hey, Oda. Just to let you know we're recording this, so you risk getting your voice on tape. Haha, tape. Any
Legends tape.
Yeah.
I sell tape, thank you.
Do you really? People still buy that? All right. Let me open up to commentary on this arrangement here. Oda, if you want to take a look at the stream, there's a link in the Freeholder forum so you can see the map that I'm talking about. Yep. So yeah, any commentary at all about this arrangement? Does this work? Does this give anybody any ideas? Does it give anybody excitement?
I like that we're not.
I like it better than the Dross.
Yeah,
I like it better than Dross as well.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
not being landlocked is pretty nice.
Mm-hmm.
Civil War sounds fun.
It does. It does.
I
If
like
you
so is tropical wetlands, is that like a very thickly, heavily wooded area? A lot of water, I know that, but is it heavily...
we've seen
like
some
Florida?
pictures of the tropical wetlands. Yeah, yeah, like Florida, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, Florida is subtropical, so it's not strictly tropical, but Florida is subtropical wetlands.
I
So
don't want to be anywhere near Florida, thank you.
Thing is, I have our own Florida man.
I already live here. Don't put me in here in a cave.
Zylphania, man.
okay, that is a valid criticism of the plan.
Which kingdom would we be a part of?
Kairos.
Yeah, that would be Kairos, which is one of the kingless, directionless, sure to dissolve quickly kingdoms.
Because he's been gone a year, and a lot of the other counts that have been there, not counts, but dukes that have been there throughout that, are kind of sick of the waiting.
Yeah.
And they're kind of taking it into their own hands to make sure they have a leadership and that they all can work together and making sure where they want to be is where they want to be.
On
Right.
the up hand, we could
They're
probably
like an
put
oligarchy.
for our weight around in that, though. So
They're like an oligarchy right now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so I'm on good terms, good-ish terms, with oh crap, what's his name? Cynric, thank you. Yes, I'm on good terms with Cynric. Cynric used to be in Vornair. He got kicked out of Vornair under almost as shady circumstances as we did. So there's a bonding there. We could probably work with him. He is the head of a very large player organization with a PvP focus, and probably the most likely to come out on top when the shit hits the fan in Kairos. So we would either be in competition with or supporting his rise to power.
Well, that explains why they want to go to Noah. Or is that the word I'm thinking of?
I'm sorry?
What's the PvP race?
I don't think there is a strictly PvP race, but the Genoa are hunters. That's their thing. So they're the most physically intimidating tribe.
Yes, that would explain why Cynric would want to go to Noah. I'm thinking, at least.
Yes.
About Kairos focusing to Noah.
Yes, but once again, Genoa have the wet lung, so they can't go too far north without getting into fatigue problems.
Getting the fatigue problem?
Genoa. Is it wet lung, or maybe they just prefer a warm climate? Maybe they have the hot climate.
What I've been able to see, Genoa, it's wet lung as in they don't burn easy, but they suffer in like dry,
right,
arid areas.
Yeah. So moving any further north than the shrub steppe or the woodland savanna would be hard for them.
Unless they somehow went around that area.
They had to go by boat over to the grasslands, probably.
Yeah.
I could see some of them surviving in the near and Lower Montane Forest. Oh,
yeah, possibly. You know, I don't think that's a particularly dry area. In fact, it's probably quite wet.
Yeah, and it's not as, they definitely want to be as bad as the Broodveer area. But they first have to get around that arid desert area first.
Yep.
They're called boats. Just go around it.
Yeah, and that's a possibility. but the same problems are there. Getting boats from the far south to the far north requires stops along the way, supplies. It's
stops.
Yeah. It's not going to be as easy.
To go completely around that desert area without, having to stop for supplies where you wouldn't survive.
Possibly. Yeah. So it would be difficult, but once again, I mean, I think having the Teresk handy helps that significantly because they make connections and they make friends, and perhaps we wouldn't have to go far north in order to get our goods. Perhaps we could convince northern traders to meet us halfway. There are ways around that, and that's kind of a continuing theme. I want to stress that this is this choice is a series of best case, worst case scenarios. But there are ways to work around all of our problems. I fully believe that the creativity of this group will allow us to surmount any difficulty. But I do want to maximize our opportunities and make sure that we're not putting too much burden on any one activity to the point where we're spending more time and resources getting past that burden than we are succeeding at our goals. So so none of these downsides are insurmountable, with the possible exception of not having access to coastland, which obviously I think that's very important. So yeah, I think this is a solid potential pick, were it not for the political instability, which is worrying. But if our PvP folks are up for the task, I think it could be a lot of fun. Final word on Cairo's pick.
Would we, by chance, get it? Would you be willing to pick a Genoa duchy in this one, or just straight Teresk?
Yeah. So that's my favorite, but I don't mind this. I think right now I'm drawing on the border of the Teresk and Genoa biome. I think right now, though, it might be difficult for us to claim any Genoa land. Like I said, I wasn't able to get a hold of anybody in Kairos to give me this straight deal on where everyone is placing. But getting Genoa land might be difficult. But we can certainly migrate them in. That's easy.
Not to mention, it's a good chance that a lot of them might end up, like everyone else, trying to be along the coast in Genoa.
Right, yeah.
And there's at least 4 duchies. Since there's 8 NPC duchies, there'd be at least 4 of them there.
Yes. Yeah, so chances are good that spot is claimed, but if it was available, I would definitely consider it.
What about the 2 right above the one that you just dotted?
I was thinking that because that still gives you at least some sort of coastline access via those rivers, it looks like.
So you're talking about this one? Oh, that's a bad color.
You literally just flip it.
Like that?
Catching up.
Takes a minute.
Yep.
And who the heck is in Kingdom 3 of map end?
That's Alessia. We'll get to Kingdom 3. Let's focus.
Okay.
Oh, unless that's relevant to this pick. Is that...
There you go. Now it's... almost.
No.
We got part of it. We're talking the other half. They're talking as well.
So you see the gray dotted one, Bob?
Yeah.
Left-hand side gray dot right above that. Right-hand side gray dot right above that.
So it'd be the larger Genoa duchy.
Yes.
Those 2 that basically are...
Oh!
The swamp dross,
You're talking about this right here? Both Genoa duchies?
The Genoa and that Teresk one that's literally right there, where the coast kind of goes inland towards.
It's like a river or
bay.
Yeah, it's like a little bit of bay between the 2. No,
like there's a water.
Where's the map with the numbers on it? Damn it! I should have got that one. Hold on.
You're old.
So close. Okay, the one next to the red.
Screen's delayed or something, but yeah, like everything you draw on the map is showing up.
Yeah.
This map.
Yeah, that's just OBS.
Normal.
There's the map that has all the numbers.
Hey, cool. Let's
Hold on,
start
let me
talking about
let me copy and paste it into the program here.
It would be P6 and P7 that they're talking about.
He is correct.
P6 and P7. Ah!
See what we're talking about now?
That's actually not bad.
I'll keep looking at this map so I can make sure that you guys know what numbers.
No, it's in the.
We're gonna switch it over.
Yeah, I just pasted it in, so you should be able to see it now. P6 and P7. That's not a bad pick either. That's there now. That really severely limits our ocean access.
There we go.
So it would only be our navy would be the single coastal king or county, I guess. I don't know how deep those waterways go.
Look at it. Only P7, the Tourasque area, would actually have any real coast.
Yeah,
True.
yeah. So it's just Go ahead.
We'd have that river that looks like a complete axis all the way into like the middle of P6 with what looks like a mountain, really large hill. So
Yeah.
we'd have a very defensible location. We'd have a water highway. As long as we remain friendly with P8, we'd have water access for like everything. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that could work. I do wonder what it would cost as far as like moving our navy through P8. We would have to remain very friendly with P8, but that's another option. I'm content that we have lots of interesting options in Kairos. So I think,
we definitely have to stay friendly with everyone else in there though, because we're so close to them.
Absolutely. Okay.
So overturn the king, work with the duchies. It sounds like.
Yes.
If the king doesn't finally come out of nowhere and select that very area as his.
That's true. And I'm almost certain somebody's going to want that big sexy mountain. That is a nice mountain. I didn't notice that before.
The one in P6.
Yeah, the one in P6.
Yeah. Someone's probably because if there's 4 duchies and 3 of them are only allowed to be really along the coast, that other one's probably going to take P6.
It's looking pretty nice.
That way they only have to worry about P2 and P1 being NPCs on the Genoa part.
All right. So yeah, I think we have a pretty good idea of where we would like to go in Kairos, and I think we can say Kairos is higher than Boardwall on the priority list. So I'll make a note of that.
Just barely.
Yeah.
The mayonnaise agrees.
Board. Okay. So let's move over to Fortuna, shall we?
Completely ruined the layers.
Which kingdom is Fortuna taken?
So Fortuna is the G kingdom here, Kingdom 4. There's a ton of coastline here. I think if it were solely up to me,
I thought, are we talking about Fortuna or Alicia? Sorry.
Fortuna.
Oh, my bad.
So, yeah, if it were up to me, boy, this is kind of a hard pick. I would say G7 for sure. And
that's if the king doesn't take G7.
Right. Well, yeah, once again, there's no way. So Fortuna, there's no way to know where anybody will be and what will be available. We would have to make several picks.
I say G1 and G4.
G10, G12.
Yeah. So I'm kind of I like G7 and G3.
I like G10, G12, G10, G12.
Or G10, G11 with options to go to G12.
Yeah.
After, expedition.
Another one that could work is G7, G6. Lots of mineral wealth in those mountains, I'm guessing.
Is that a mountain in G10 right under the text?
Let's see.
Seems like.
No, I do not see any mountains.
Look like it. Or maybe a ridge.
No, that looks more like just marsh.
I think that's a transition biome between the jungle and the marsh.
Yeah, it's a discoloration.
So yeah, G10 is really nice actually. So let's do G10 and G12 is also a good pick.
Well, I was thinking more G10, G11 because then we have options to expand into G12. Kind of just corner it off.
Just kind of corner it off to ourselves. And
that's what I was thinking, yeah.
If no one picks it, we claim it.
Did we just take away all the, oh, there goes everything.
Oh, yeah, I removed the overlays to take a look at the terrain, so they'll be back.
Yeah, G2.
So yeah, I mean these are probably my top 3 picks. I'm not huge on the plan of going G10, G11 because that can appear threatening to whoever drops in G12 if anybody drops in G12.
True.
But on the other hand, we could make a good relationship with them and it might work. So that's possible.
I feel like being expelled from our kingdom, then going on to the next one and immediately trying a power play and grab another duchy for us.
Totally fine.
That is a very good insight. Very good insight, Oda. Thank you. I agree.
It's like an open plain, while G3 and everything is just, you know, like it doesn't look like there's that good of a
desert.
It is, yeah.
It's basically desert.
Well, yeah, it's the.
It doesn't look that defendable.
It's a steppe, so there are mountains and hills up in there, and that's mostly like why I would want to go north, just to have access to mineral wealth, in addition to the
availability to go around.
I'm agreeing with you.
Sounds mostly like Nevada type of.
I would say of the 3, G7, G3 is probably my least favorite.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an awkward shape.
Step in the steppe. That's all in G6, 4, and 5. It looks like.
Well, G6 is in the semi-arid desert.
G6 is looking nice with those hills, mountains there.
Yeah.
6. Look at 5. Ooh, look at those. It's curvy.
Yeah, and I mean, if we didn't mind going all weird, then I do like this grouping right here.
G5, G4?
G5, G4 is very nice. Lots of mineral wealth, lots of access to that inner gulf. There is not a major naval power on that coast. C10 is Niz, C4 is Filane, and C2 is Theron, Malvorn.
All people you're friends with, I believe.
Well, I'm friends with Niz. I'm on a good relationship with Filane, and Malvorn and I have a friendly rivalry of sorts. But also,
he's in 12, so it's fine.
Also, Malvorn is likely to face civil war almost immediately. So.
And what did you say that there was on that coast?
To clarify, that's
okay.
There. That is Vornair, is it not?
Which part?
What?
Diane.
No, that's Alessia.
C is Alessia.
Yep. Vornair is Y and R.
Yellow and red.
Yep.
Yeah, yellow and red. Okay. Each color is its own kingdom.
Yep. Sorry.
So yeah, my major concerns with Fortuna obviously are to make a play on words. It's a roll of the dice. We really don't know where we'd be able to place. We don't have any kind of way to form a relationship with Blah because that's not what he's interested in. He's really just kind of letting it happen however it happens. And
we should take the kingdom.
It's possible we could. It is possible we could.
But then that leads to the question, Bob. Do you want to be king?
No.
Exactly.
I'll do it. I'll do it if I'm the most capable person in the area and everybody else is an idiot, especially if I have the acclaim of other dukes. But I don't want it. I definitely don't want it.
This is the king who didn't really go out of his way to recruit people. He's just like,
yes.
He is purposefully going not.
No,
yeah.
I do believe we've received information that there is some sort of structure within Fortuna.
Oh, really?
Yes, I am trying to figure out where I remember seeing this information.
I know there are organized people who are planning on taking advantage of the lack of organization in Fortuna, but I don't know much about who those people are.
So this would be from Mobius. I'm sure it's fine. Let me see it here, even though it's in the private. But it says apparently Fortuna might be more ready than expected. A Fortuna group in Gloria Victa, however it's spelled, and they were confirmed to be COE related by a boardwalk group apparently. So there's some structure within Fortuna, it seems.
Okay.
That's where it's good to get a hold of that group then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be. So if we decide we want to give Fortuna a shot, then yeah, we would definitely start. We would get in contact with Blah and try to form some kind of relationship with him. He's open to conversation. He doesn't mind talking to people. He just doesn't want to organize his kingdom. So you know, and obviously we'd want to get in touch with whoever those other people are. And figure out what their interests are. Hi, Eris. You're being recorded, FYI. So yeah. I don't know. Any other comments or concerns about Fortuna?
I think we're moving from least favorable to a little more favorable, at least in my
Fortune
opinion.
favors the bold.
I also
Right.
suggested G4 and G1.
Oh, that's also a good one.
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, that would give us a big chunk of Naren. We would be cozy up with... So the major problem is a C11 is Cab, who is one of the Zelian PvP dukes. Yeah. So
definitely incredibly defensible, especially if we piss off Blue and Cyan.
Well, okay. So here's the other thing: is we have good relationships with Filane, and we could very easily, if we decide we don't want to play ball with the people in Fortuna, we could flip. We could say G4 and G1, you're part of Alessia now, and so that could work. The other thing we can do... No, I guess that's the main thing that we could do. So yeah, if we wanted to cozy up to the Alessian border and become Alessia's new border, we might do that as well.
I wonder how pissed off C11 would be now that they'd have to go through us to get to any real action.
Yeah, right? Nah, it's fine.
He would face a very threatening foe.
Just pay the toll and you're fine.
He's just like, dang it. There goes my plan.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure where to put Fortuna in relation to Kairos. If I would put it above or below Kairos, maybe we're tied.
I think Fortuna's a 50-50 chance. I say we just put it smack dab in the middle of everything.
Okay, Fortuna.
Yeah.
I think Kairos and Fortuna are better options than Boardwalk.
Absolutely, I agree too, for a myriad of reasons. And I'm glad you agreed. So, yeah, any final words on Fortuna before we move up to Alessia?
I still kind of think Kairos might be just a smidge better option.
Yeah. Only by maybe a hair or two.
Yeah, I mean, I think the advantage in Kairos is we know exactly what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it's just the uncertainty in Fortuna that just...
It gives it a negative weight, almost.
Yeah, too many unknowns. Hard to plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
That draws for me.
Okay, so let's move up to Alessia. So as we know, C12 is the duchy we're being offered. All the other duchies have been claimed, except for C5. So this is the point where we start having to make compromises as to the size of our duchy. We wouldn't be able to fit a double duchy. And so then it becomes an issue of, well, where would Eris go? Would Eris also place in, would he place in C5? He doesn't want C5. He wants coastal land. He wants Naren. That's Kipik landlocked forest. So he doesn't like that. And I don't blame him. Huh?
Quick interjection?
Yeah.
Didn't Filane just kick out a duke?
That's why C5 is open.
C5 is.
Yep.
So, I do have several questions. So this is the Free Kingdom, right?
This is the Free Kingdom.
This is the one that was Zalius, right?
Yes.
Yes, this is
How much has it changed since then? Because Zalius was actually the first COE group I was going to join, and that community ended up driving me away.
Really? What about it didn't you like?
Just the overall atmosphere didn't appeal to me there back in those days. I don't know how different it is.
Well, okay, so there are 3 Zelian duchies aside from the royal duchy that Philaine owns. Now there's just 2. One of the Zelian duchies got kicked out because he expressed that he was going to select his duchy by IP, and everybody else could just deal with that, rather than doing the plan that they agreed on. So he was kicked out. So there are just 3 Zelian duchies: the royal duchy and Cab, and I don't know where the other Zelian duchy is, but I'm willing to bet it's C3, because they would want to be up on the border with Fornair where the action is. So their total influence is less than the collective other dukes, who are all of very different demeanors. I really like the vibe culturally in Alessia because all of the people who are the most powerful people in Alessia are also highly active, very influential people in the COE community at large. So they've had some bumps in the road as far as establishing a working relationship because they were originally in competition with one another, but they seem to be mending that. And I've had lots of interviews with the various dukes of Alessia in the past couple of weeks. And I've asked them to be candid about what they think about their other fellow dukes. So I feel like I have a good finger on the pulse of the politics in Alessia, probably better than I do in Boardwall or Kairos. But so let me run down the C12 benefits here. C12 has a really interesting coast. If I take away the overlays, there's just so many natural bays. There's 2 very large natural bays up in there, one in the north and one in the south. We've got, it's a transition biome from the plains into the shrub, so we've got plenty of arable land, which is really nice. That's land that we could use to grow anything, including wood if we need it. And also keep in mind that we can fill in a lot of our crops and stuff like that with EP. So if we buy the supplies necessary to start our own little mini forest in there off the EP store, then we wouldn't have to worry about waiting for those resources to be available. We can also buy straight up resources. But the lack of wood in this biome makes it difficult because we can't build our own ships. We'd probably have to buy them unless we decide to grow a forest or import wood. Now, to that effect, I've talked with Philaine, and he has offered up 2/3 of his kingdom as forest. So he's offered to allow us to buy land in his duchy, or to help us arrange to buy land in one of the other duchies that we could use. So we would be shipping our own wood that we already own. So the only drawback there would be the cost of actually moving the wood. We have some options to get wood. And that's the only real the material concern that I have with this duchy. Otherwise, we have mountains, so we have mineral wealth, we have arable land, we have lots of coastline, and we also comprise almost the entire coast, or 1/3 of the coast of that gulf.
So, you said earlier that the biggest problem here was because Eris would have to take C5.
Not would have to take C5. Eris would have to do something else with his duchy. Potentially take C5, potentially liquidate the duchy down for for EP and place his county where it fits, or place his duchy somewhere else on the map at like G4, or possibly he's talked about going to Y12, and
like C12 and G1.
So yeah, I was about to say. So you said you wanted something Naren with a coastline, right?
Right.
B1.
Which one? Oh, B1 is Boardwall. That's actually the Royal Duchy of Boardwall. So Blood Oak is taking. There is no coastal Naren left except for in Y12 and C12. And C12 has 1/3 population Naren. The rest of the world, the coastal Naren is all taken by somebody else. So that's the difficulty with this pick is we reduce the size of our duchy to just one duchy, and then then Eris has some difficult choices to make. The political situation is good, though. We're next to Cab, who is ostensibly on our side. so we have PvP support on that part of the border with Fortuna. We also touch Fortuna's border, so we have access to Fortuna in G1. We have border with Boardwall, so if we're at war with Boardwall, then we have lots of fun PvP activity. The other thing that I want to note is that Boardwall's putting all of their ships. Why can't I draw my lines here? Boardwall's putting.
Question.
Oh yeah, hold on a second.
Sure.
I can't draw on the map anymore for some reason. Oh, because I have it hidden. Boardwall's putting all of their fleet right here. In B1, B2, on that coast, like. Every single duchy is getting land on that coast that is their sovereign land for them to have access to the sea. So Boardwall is planning on putting all of their eggs in that one basket. To me, that says that the naval warfare in that region is going to be off the chain, and also that gives us a really great advantage of jumping in there and totally denying Boardwall's access to that Gulf because they have a single point of attack. And this is what I was talking about Boardwall's plans. Their plans are not tactically sound, and we would be in a position to exploit that in such a great way. It's not even funny.
The more you're talking about this, the more I like it. But if we do have to go down to one duchy, would we be able to accommodate our counts in that one duchy?
Yes. Right now we only have 10 counts.
Roughly. Let me count. Counts.
Yeah, myself included, I think we have 10 counts.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Remember, don't count Asarai.
7, 8.
And is Mobius is a double county, right?
Yes, so that'd be 9.
Yeah. And then Eris would also have a double county if he chose to stay with us.
So that would be 10.
Right. And I have 12 reservations. So yeah, the other nice thing about settling in Alessia is that we would not have random counts. All the counts that place in Alessia have won the Free Kingdom contest. So we would be able to, we would know and have a means of interfacing with anybody who dropped in our space.
So we would be able to place there, having
yeah. I have 12 reservations and only have 11 counties to reserve.
Nice.
Okay, so I want to make something clear.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like on this map, C12 and B1 have a border that overlap. What the heck is going on there?
So that's an error in the generation that they have yet to fix. But let me show you this right here. So there is a line of mountains right there. So if you compare that to the political boundary, you can see that it's probably Boardwall's boundary, the blue boundary, not the cyan boundary, that is the true boundary because of the terrain features there.
Okay. I would have liked to think of it as no man's land.
They thought about leaving it and just calling that like some kind of contested lands between the two kingdoms or maybe a micronation, but they decided to scrap that.
Good choice.
Yeah.
The micronation thing would have been pretty cool.
I agree. If you guys
will manufacture enough of these border incidents.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, yeah, that makes perfect sense now. Thank you.
Especially since people like looking at those little lines and making impossible amounts of stories out of them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's not really a coast to it, but G1 as I think that was Kairos.
Yeah. No, that's
Fortuna.
G1 is Fortuna.
Fortuna. Okay.
Right. So that's one of Filane's plans is that if we're amenable to the idea that Eris place or give his duchy to someone who places like PvPers, like maybe Cab or somebody like that. Give that duchy to a PvP group that doesn't have a duchy but wants to be in, insurgent, and place them in G1. Then we could do that. And since it's contiguous with us, we could do that. The problem is that Eris doesn't want his county in that land, so he can't place it. But if he passes his county to me, then I can take it, whatever. So there are options there. Felaine likes the idea of us putting the duchy across the border and just funneling resources for as long as we can hold it. I wouldn't want to put any of our loyal counts in that area because, it would be difficult for us to maintain control.
Likely to be overrun.
Yeah. So yeah, there are some other options for that second duchy, but we wouldn't be able to place it as a single duchy at that moment because they're in two different kingdoms.
Okay, Bob, how do you feel about this compared to the other ones then?
Well, I'll be honest, this is my favorite pick.
This is your favorite pick.
Okay? This is. When I was thinking about where I would want to place on the map, irrespective of any other considerations, I was like C9 and C12 or C10 and C9 are both really cool picks. Oh yeah.
I was hesitant as I was expressing earlier, but now that you've explained it to me and all the different things, I think this might be my favorite one too, though I still like the G10, G12 Fortuna.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Weird, unless someone wants to try and change that. Am I still going to be able to be Naren in C12?
Yes, so C12 is 2/3 Weird, 1/3 Naren. It's in a transition biome between...
Are those only two races?
Well, yes. However, all of the kings of our server have agreed, even Blah, they have all agreed that they will not restrict people migrating their chosen tribe across kingdom borders during Kingdoms of Illyria. So what we would do is we would basically do migration drives for whatever tribes we wanted to bring into the region. I would like to bring some Harathi down to live in our mountains. I would like to bring some Naren in to even up that population. Ideally, I would love to have 50-50 Weird and Naren to have them equal to some extent. I really like the Weird Naren synergies as far as their tribal advantages and disadvantages. I feel that they match up really well. The Naren are widely traveled and good social people, and they also are good for PvP. And then the Weird can't participate directly in staged battles, but they can, they're the best assassins and the best sneaky.
Really?
Yeah, they're masters of disguise. They're masters of assassination. So yeah, they're the hidden sneaky assassin tribe.
Are they good with bows and arrows?
I got two questions at once. Bows and arrows, that's not, there is no like weapon specialization based on tribe.
Okay.
What's the other question?
Why can't they participate in battles?
Religious concerns. They're religiously prohibited from staging a battle. However, they can be on the battlefield and assassinating the leaders of the opposing army. They can do defensive battles, but they can't do an attack. And a stage battle, so they couldn't siege a city or something like that. But that's where the Naren come in. The Naren take care of the attack, the Weird take care of defense, and also special ops. And like I said, I like that synergy.
Changed my mind, Bob. Thank you.
Good, I'm glad. But yeah, and I am excited about this pick, and I think I see a lot of potential in it. But I don't want you to think that it's a foregone conclusion. I was serious when I said that I'm holding this decision until I've heard from all of you, and I want to make sure that I'm satisfying as many people as possible because, like I said, I see a lot of potential.
Hello tonight, Mobius.
Hey, Mobius.
Hey, Mobius. You're being recorded. So I see a lot of potential in this area, and I think that any of the difficulties that are present there are easily surmountable. Between our relationships and our gumption and our creativity. Yeah, so let's open it up. What are your comments? What do you like about this? What don't you like about this?
I know C12 is by far my favorite, but I don't know how I feel about making Eris figure out what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my only reservation about this.
Me too.
We do have Eris with us if he is able to speak now. If he wants to share his comments.
He was having connection issues.
Or not.
He said he couldn't hear, so he might not be able to hear us.
He did fix that. He can hear us now. I just don't know if he can speak.
Oh, I see that. Okay. He's typing.
Push to talk won't work. He's working on it. Okay, so we may be able to hear from Eris in a few.
Yeah, and like I said, yeah, I don't like this either. As far as having to reduce us down to one duchy and have Eris have to make some tough decisions about what he does. He doesn't want to liquidate it. I know that much. And he's not super keen on this biome for himself personally. I know he's talked about potentially going to Vornair and just trying to make it work in Vornair. And he's had talks with Adam on that score, and they're willing to work that out. Jason, I think you were talking about possibly going with him to help him establish up there in the forest, because
it was actually me and Eris that got introduced about that we were both thinking about that by Adam, and from there, that's kind of where, because I was originally just willing to be in an NPC duchy where we were originally going to be, and then Eris just would kind of fit that in even more with the fact instead of being an NPC duchy, we'd already have the duchy.
Right. So that's possible. You've already heard. You've already heard my political reservations about that choice, because I worry for your safety and your health and well-being, and I worry that Vornair's objective is to deny Alessia a powerful ally rather than to make friends with you guys. But once again, that's my own personal view, and I don't want that to necessarily,
I don't think that's a great idea, particularly because it'll involve splitting Zylphania again. Really?
Again, we're looking at we're not making the decision until after both Zylphania has made their decision, and we're going to base that off that whether or not we stay in Zylphania or not. And if the decision doesn't work for us, and we don't stay in Zylphania, that's kind of one of our options.
Right, and Jason has also, mentioned that if people do like the idea of the area that we're in, he would refer some of his people to us. So, if we
didn't stay.
Right, and like I said, I really appreciate the loyalty and support that everybody has expressed so far. And if Jason does decide to make this decision for his people and in the best interest of his people, my full faith and support go with you. Because it is a tough decision. It's a tough decision for me to make. That's why I've called you all here. But I do want us to make sure that we're all getting what we want out of this process. So, any other comments on placing in Alessia?
My only problem with one of my main problems is kind of like what you said with the weird being not able to in a pitched battle, because yeah, sure, we'll have the Naren, but until we get that population higher, if we do, that also limits our manpower in the event of any kind of war.
Well, okay, so if we're not the aggressors, the Weird are fully capable of participating in battles defensively.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
And quite honestly, I don't intend to start aggressive war. In fact, Filane doesn't want his dukes to have that option. He wants to reserve the power of international war entirely to himself, and only take the advisement of his dukes on whether or not he should commit to foreign war. If we do go to aggressive war with Boardwall, then we have the full support of the Kingdom Army. So again, our personnel issues are not a problem. All of the Naren and Kipik and Weird assassins will be flowing through our duchy, which is good for us economically. And
my baby soldiers charge.
Yeah, right. So
if we do get C12, that's gonna be a really fun fortification project.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Let me take off the overlays so you can see these series of hills here, because I really like. let me turn that off here. We'll zoom in nice and
purple
close.
line you have, is that a hill or a mountain?
That's a ridge line. So if you look here, these are like, let me draw some nice little dotted lines in here. There are a series of...
Yeah, zoom in if you can when it finally catches up.
I am doing that. So, so there are a series of hilltops and draws. There. There's like these really very clean lanes of approach through these hills. So placing fortifications on top of those ridges
Checkpoints
would allow us to control all that line, all that land, and presumably Boardwall would be doing the same thing on their side. So, so yeah, I mean that there is a defensible lane there that protects our grasslands. It's not just like we're going to have towers on the open plains or anything like that.
Okay, so who wanted to hear from me?
Oh, we all did, Eris. We'd love to hear your opinion, because we're at the point now where we're talking about C12, and I know you have some opinions on that and how it works for your plans.
No, I thought there was a few people that specifically wanted to hear from me.
Yes, all of us. We all want to hear from you about the difficulty of placing in C12 because we can't fit your duchy in it.
I mean, already that's a negative, but it's a mixture between that. It's a mixture between the available land. It's in my honest opinion, for my desired playstyle and intentions, C12 for me is a complete total, mind my French, but it's a clusterfuck. For me, it comes down to the boiling point of there looks to be too many negatives, and they begin to outweigh the positives. That's how I've had to begin looking at it. I've had to pretty much take anywhere I have an opportunity and put my negatives and positives side by side and see which category starts to win.
So, what can you enumerate the negatives for C12 for you?
Okay, C12, first negative is obviously we're down to one duchy, so land becomes more scarce than it would be if we were two. Next point of call is obviously the tribe population. With only 1/3, it's obviously going to be hard to further populate that. Along with trying to keep things at least equal, and it's not easy. It's a statistical nightmare, quite frankly. From that point onward, then you then have the land, where it's obviously that tiny shred of grassland moving on into shrubs. And from what you know of me, I'm basically avoiding anything that's not green, like it's the plague.
Not to mention, sorry to interrupt you, Aries. Another negative that I know I've talked with him about and others is in it. A lot of us have like the option of having NPC counts if possible, so that around us, so that way we can have an opportunity of expanding. And to my understanding, all the spots not taken by our current counts are going to be taken by people that won a county.
Potentially, yes.
So there's another. I wouldn't put that as high on the scale, but that can be a decent drop.
No, absolutely.
I didn't even know that, so that would be a drawback. Next port of call is obviously where you do come down to the land. And obviously, being someone that wants to be coastal and narrow, my options become incredibly limited. So even in that regard, I'm down to picking between like 2 or 3 different spots that actually offer what I accept. And at least one of those spots is at least half word territory, and the other one is directly on the border with the royal joint of Boardwalk. So it really starts to and then obviously those are more or less the more major drawbacks at the minute, and then from there you can start kind of totaling the smaller drawbacks of then you've got to start dividing the county to the barony, and it just starts piling up at that point. So much so that it's giving me like more stress than I need at the minute. So I'm looking at the point. I'm like, okay, I'm just going to look at the majors because the minors at that point are just not even. They're not. They're minors. They're not as important as the majors. So I'm at the point now where I'm putting, major positives and major negatives together and seeing which outweighs what.
Okay, yeah. So, and I agree. For the most part, there isn't a lot we can do. I haven't spoken to all the other counts, so I don't know what the competition is specifically for Green Naren coastline. We can get Naren anywhere in the duchy, and we can migrate them though. So the 2/3, 1/3 Weird Naren, I intend. I don't know if you were here for that part of the meeting, but I intend to drive more migrations so that we have a more 50-50 split between Naren, and I also want to add some Harathi to the north in those mountains. So, the tribal concern, I think we can address. The coastal concern, assuming the other counts are amenable to giving you that space, are also there. Yeah, it's a tough call for you, and I totally acknowledge that. And
well, one of which counts is actually yourself. So don't say that all the counts will be doing it.
No, that's not true. I've expressed this to Jason, and I guess I didn't get a chance to express it to you. But if it comes down to me picking a more northern spot and giving the southern greener spaces to you guys, I'm for it. I will do it because that southern bay is ideal for Jason's shipping operation. And if you guys can find a way to share that area or work out some other arrangement, then obviously we don't know what the counties are going to look like there, but I will compromise my own desires to help you guys settle with us. That's important to me, and I want you to understand that because this isn't my duchy, this is our duchy. And if I have to, so long as I have a place that I can turn into a bigger city and it still meets most of my needs, then I have no problem giving the choice spot to somebody else who's going to utilize it for what it needs to be used for.
Right, and like I'm not saying that obviously like compromises and stuff like that aren't appreciated. As I have expressed to you, and I'm sure a lot of the people here know, I'm not looking at my options on a personal manner as if it's some sort of weird vendetta spite to you guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obviously looking at it in my best interest.
Yeah.
Obviously we've all been together for like 2 years. I consider pretty much all of them friends at this point.
It's almost 3 at this point, actually.
Hmm?
It's almost 3 years.
Yeah, we're getting close to 3 now.
Yeah. So yeah, I know this isn't spiteful or you're not mad about this. You're disappointed and hurt by the fact that we all have to make this choice. I am too. It really wasn't ideal. I liked the spot in Vornair that we had carved out for ourselves, and I like Vornair as a community, but obviously the leadership compatibility isn't there.
I mean, even at that point, we still technically wouldn't be getting Y12 anymore. Y12 has been given to someone else.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Even more, it has to change again, and it's like it's just hard to obviously be in this situation and be looking at these options and then still trying to, obviously, prove to you guys that I'm not doing this in spite of anyone. That I'm obviously doing this in my best interests, not against or to hurt anyone. It's just, looking after my investment and my dedication, my intentions for gameplay.
Absolutely.
And see, that's the same way with me and my community, because I also know it's like Aries is talking about his best interest in his gameplay. For me, it's not just my best interest in gameplay; it's also the 100 and so that are in my county as well.
Right. And
I don't want you guys to think that I'm at all shitting on you guys, because I love you guys. That's one of the reasons why it hurts, because I feel like I'm having to choose. So just remember, whatever I choose, guys, you guys are still 100% my friends.
Yeah, I'm not worried about ruining friendships here. I am worried about making sure that everything works. I still think that we can provide for both of you. I think we can make it work. We can handle most, if not all, of your concerns in one way or another. But obviously, the amount to which you're willing to rely on promises from me that I can't strictly back up 100% are totally understandable. Yeah, I'm convinced that we could make it work, and I think we would have something special as a team working in this area. John Warren is our neighbor in C9. And he has some grand plans for making us basically the economic funnel to his center, economic center. I don't know if anybody knows his background or remembers him from the Free Kingdom campaign, but he is the economic guru of Alessia. And so he plans on establishing a strong trade in that choke point in the center. And we would be on his door front. So we would be
I believe he called it a doormat.
I called it a doormat.
Oh, you called it a doormat.
I called it a doormat. But yeah, so all of the trade that he's drawing to his center would be passing through us. So we would be in a highly active economic zone. We have a ton of coastline. So all of the maritime economics would be coming through our region as well. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potentials to make this work and to make us all very successful and wealthy, and it's reasonably secure as well. So this is high on my personal list, and I think that the unknowns of the other regions that we could pick in constitute a higher risk than dropping here. But we have to make some very hard to make compromises in the process.
Another compromise I noticed we will have to make is there seems to be good coastal land, but not for particularly large amount of it.
So I don't know. I mean, I think depends on what you want to do with that coast. There are a lot of natural bays in the north, but there's also a lot of mountains in the north, so it's hard to say exactly how useful those coastlines would be or what we could use them for. And that's really the hard thing about making this choice, is all we have is basically a coastline without any information about it.
Yeah, I mean, look, like I will, like, as I have been this whole time, like I'm rather transparent about all the stuff I've been going on with. I mean, even with the offers I've been getting in Vornea, I've been weighing up the positives and the negatives. And I mean, it's not even so much that it's like winning by a tidal wave. I'm talking like the difference between some of the offers I'm getting are getting so down to that bare bone that it's becoming like overly stressful, and it's difficult, and it's, you know, it's hard to even make a not a definitive choice, but trying to thin the options down. Like it's fucking hard.
Eris, I'm kind of curious actually. Out of the duchies that we were looking at, or duchy options, which one would you have picked?
I mean, look, I would have loved Y12. But having spoken with a couple of the other dukes up there, with how some of their mock domain selection has been going, and a lot of the compromises some of them had to make, especially, is it Yehu? I know.
Fehu,
that's the one, sorry.
No problem.
Like, they ended up going to Y12, and after hearing, and obviously speaking to other people from Fehu, the amount of compromises they had to make to end up in Y12. I look at Y12 now and I'm like, while I would love it, I can't take that away from someone who is now in their like 4th to 5th level of compromising just to be there. Like they've given up so much to end up there.
And that's one of the reasons why we looked at Y11.
Vornea, the domain selection in Vornea is really fraught because there are so many large people at the top, and they are unwilling to make compromises, which is one of the things that we struggled with in making sure that we had Y12 and Y11, because the higher influence people are not willing to make very many compromises, and Fehu's at the bottom of the selection. So they are making all the compromises, and I really feel for them because they have been bounced around that map 6 ways from Sunday. It's really rough up there.
I actually meant out of the ones that we were looking at as a double duchy, like in Kairos, Fortuna, anything?
I mean, look.
You cut out.
We lost him a little bit.
Okay, sorry,
Yeah.
I clicked the wrong button on my phone now. I clicked the swipe button because I've got the iPhone X. Yeah, as I was saying, Fortuna has and never will be on my considered list, for the fact that Fortuna is literally, as any other description does not make sense, it is a shit show. It will remain a shit show until at least the first 6 months have passed. Kairos, on the other hand, the only problem with Kairos is, at this point in time, it is a coin. You will either pick the right side or you will pick the wrong side.
Yeah.
It's literally a 50-50 chance, because if you know anything or look into Kairos, this is for any of you not assuming that you do or don't know, but if you have a look, that entire kingdom is breaking down into basically a civil unrest, to the fact that one of the dukes is uniting some dukes to, when game launches, overthrow that king and essentially bring the king, take over as king, and then start bringing more, basically bringing it back into structure. Because at the minute, Kairos is just, it's literally a 50-50 divide.
Right, yeah, we talked about that when we talked about going on Kairos. We were considering the tropical wetlands, probably P11 and P10, or P12 and P11, possibly P7 and P8. So somewhere in the tropical wetlands. I know that's not Naren, but that ticks off most of your other boxes as far as having plenty of coastline and lots of green spaces.
Yeah, it's very odd, but obviously with Kairos you start almost not as bad as Fortuna, but getting bad. You start playing obviously too big of a risk of not only your investment, but the people who have trusted you, their investments. You start putting a lot more on the line, and that's obviously where I start feeling even more uncomfortable, which is why at the minute doing what I'm doing, knowing that a lot of the people who originally supported and were going to be with me left when we originally had our dispute with Bonaire, it pretty much left me on that duchy standpoint of my duchy. Pretty much no one wanted to settle with, not no one, but no one was left that wanted to settle with me at that point. So at least knowing that even if I don't stick around, there is still a place for everyone, it does give me that little bit of ease off my shoulders, because that way, if we couldn't fit everyone, I would, if I was leaving, I would literally leave with guilt. I would leave with way too much guilt, and probably wouldn't leave because I couldn't do that to other people. But at least knowing that even if I do go, you guys have a place.
Yeah.
To me, that's reassuring. It's kind of like, look, even if I don't, I'm not there, they still have somewhere to be. They're still gonna be there. They're not gonna have to go and place in some random who knows what and deal with that shit show that would be that. They actually get to stay together. That was pretty much my big concern when we had two accounts.
Yeah.
Was, I have to start worrying along with Bombastus, is everyone going to get a spot?
Yeah. Yeah, and that worry isn't there anymore. At this point, at our present population, we don't need 2 duchies, and actually having 2 duchies could be a risk, because that leaves us open to random insurgents, or just having to deal with NPCs, and that could be a messy business. I don't want, if I can avoid it, I don't want a lot of conflict in the early part of the game, because that's when we should be building ourselves up to be protected so that we can survive any conflict that comes our way, or project conflict if that's our desire. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough call. And that is one of the risks that we have to think of when we say, are we going to pick a double duchy? Are we going to pick a single duchy? And what are the problems inherent in those picks? Hello, Robert de la Mer. Just so you know, we're recording this session, so if you speak, your voice will be recorded.
All right, how's everyone doing?
We're doing good. So we're just talking about which kingdom we'd like to settle in, and actually we're in the last 5 minutes of the meeting. So I'm going to go into the Freeholder Forum channel. I'm going to put out our options in order of, in reverse order, the way we talked about them. Please pop a reaction on the kingdom that you like. This is not a vote. This is just so I can gauge what people's interests are. Based on what we've talked about today for the past 90 minutes, let me know. Please just vote on one. I don't want to try to figure out like, you know, first or second choice or anything like that. So if you had to pick right now, please just put a positive reaction on the one that you like, and I'll type them all out singly here. So
now, while he's doing that, I just want to also say, I mean, like, obviously I haven't been able to be here for the whole meeting, but if anyone does have any questions they do want to direct at me for a direct answer, you're always welcome to message me. Because the only other thing that I even spoke, I think I tried to speak with Bomb, I don't recall if I did or not, was in the sense that if there is anyone, you know, either way, that needs somewhere to be, I'm not going to turn around if I do happen to leave Zylphania and go, no, you're from Zylphania, go back. I'm going to be like, look, if it's the choice you want to make, I'm not going to turn you away. Like, I'm not going to be someone that's obviously actively poaching, but I'm also not going to turn anyone away that wants to, you know, be there. Like, I'm not going to force a decision on anyone, and I'm not going to turn people away.
And you know, same thing from my end. There's no hard feelings if people decide you want to go try and settle with Eris if he decides to go outside of the duchy, or if you want to go somewhere else or stay in Vornair. It's all the same to me. I want you to be happy with this decision and where you're at. I can't compel anyone to stay here, and I wouldn't want to if I could. At least not until after domain selection. Then you're stuck with me.
There is at no point in time going to be a point where obviously you're going to see me and Bob coming together and you're like, oh, Bob, you're a shithead. I hate you now.
Yeah, it would be cool if you ended up on our border and we were able to, you know, do some friendly PvP between each other, but yeah.
Yeah, so it you know, it's coming down to the fact that I'm still obviously going to come and talk to you guys even if I'm not here anymore. Like, I'm not just going to disassociate. I'm not that kind of a person. I'm just... Yeah, obviously it's just about me reassuring everyone that I'm not out to do this against anyone. I'm literally doing that for my own interests and perhaps anyone else's that may not align. But I will obviously, I will say again, if anyone does have any questions they do want to ask me after this, feel free to obviously PM me at any point in time, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But I do unfortunately have like a shitload of things I need to think about in the next 48 hours, probably tops. Like, yeah. I've got a pretty small window to really consider a lot of things.
Same.
And it is taking a toll. But yeah, if anyone has any questions whatsoever, literally send them to me and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Like, I will do my best to get back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for coming to tonight's meeting. I'm going to end the recording now because that's the full substance of the meeting. I'm going to pin board wall to the top so you can find this in case the conversation moves along. So yeah, if you have to deliberate and you want to cast your vote for what kingdom, well, not vote, but cast your opinion, indicate your opinion for a particular kingdom, just look for the pins. Yeah, I'll end the recording now, and then I'll stay in the channel for anybody who wants to talk about any other topic, including the dirt that scooped us out of Vornair in the first place. So recording is ending. You are no longer being recorded.
Cool.